What is stopping me? That's the question on my mind. So I decided that I would blog and talk about it. And what I was thinking about now, before I made this video, before I press record, is what is stopping me from getting to where I want to be. Not that I know exactly where I want to be, but I sit here just wondering, why am I still here? And, I mean, I've been trying really hard not to complain or sound like someone who complains at where they're at. But I think lately my eyes have been opening up. I've entered a new happiness, a new life pretty much, except for the fact that all of this was internal. Because on the outside, where I'm at, like physically where I'm at, is the same. You know, my schedule is the same, if not worse. My jobs are the same. And everything just seems like lately I'm like, yeah, and I got pumped up, and I believe, and I really want to shoot for, you know, that next part in life. I just want to do something with myself, do something with my life, like, get it going. But it feels like something is, like, stopping me. And so I'm staring at the future instead of walking towards it, is how it feels. And that's why I started to think of things like, well, I really do want to travel, so in order to show that, I was going to get my passport, but that got stopped, and I try not to be sad about it, so I just thought, okay, well, eventually we'll get it figured out. I mean, it's possible, we just either have to request another birth certificate for the third time, or find it, and, so there's that, and I use my hands a lot. Anyway, and then also, I'm surprised that I actually got a credit card. Pretty much can go anywhere, like right now. Just put it on the credit card, ma'am, and I'm gonna go. Just buy me my ticket now. So, I mean, I can only go somewhere in this country, because I don't have a passport. But anyway, I know that I'm going to be starting up at the preschool again, and I'm thankful for that job, I really am. It just came out of nowhere when it happened last year, but, you know, I'm going to be working there as long as I'm still here in Chowchilla, California. But I just think, what is stopping me? Because a part of me is like, it's like just trying to be content with where I'm at, with what's happening in life, but the other part of me is like begging for something to look forward to, for something to enjoy right now, you know, and instead of just trying to get through the now so that, you know, I'll get to the later in life, and I'm like, no, I want it now, no, I want to enjoy something now, and I think, what is stopping me? What is it? I'm trying to learn about myself, you know. I mean, I went through like stages, really quick stages after the miracle happened, and I don't know. This is basically my life in a nutshell. I was born November 3rd, 1990, approximately 12 something in the afternoon, to my mom and dad, and obviously, and yeah, we lived in this town since then. My whole life I was here. As a kid, I created my first best friend in the 4th grade, so that made me about 7, I think, 7 years old. 7 or something like that. I don't know. I was a young one in school. Like, I graduated at 17 years old and went to college at 17. Woo! Anyway, so I created my first best friend in the 4th grade, and then in the 5th grade, she was my best friend as well, and then the 6th grade found out she had the same class as me, but on the first day of school, after I was excited about that, I was told that she moved away with her dad, and I had no idea that she was already going to. So try not to cry, and made friends with a girl who lived across the street from me and my sister, and you know, she was our friend, but I never actually like would hang out with her at school or anything because we were like totally different. And but I went with her because I knew her, and then after a while I really didn't like the group she was with. I didn't like all the boys coming over and picking on the girls, and I was just annoying and dumb, and so I left and jumped from one group to the next just to find my place until I finally created my second best friend, and that was the last year of school in that school. It was middle school, so after that you go to high school. Well, anyway, I created, you know, a best friendship with her, and when she's not at school, I'm just like, no one's here. I just worked a lot better with one person, and I couldn't really do well with groups because I never fit into the conversations. I always had a whole different world going on in my head, and I never cared for what they would talk about. So it was easier with one person because you could talk about what you do have in common, what you do like to do, and you don't have to fit in with everyone. You just fit in with that one person. So, you know, this girl that was my friend, pretty much we just hung out with each other all the time. And when the school year ended and we graduated and we were going to enter a new school, she actually moved away to go with her parents on a missionary's trip to Korea. And she's going to be gone for 2 years, so yeah, I enter a new school, and again, I have to find a new friend. So I go back to the friend that lives across the street, and pretty much just, yeah, hang out with her. And again, it's the group that I didn't care to be around, and I didn't fit in and everything. And as all the people started to kind of become like each other, and you know, just, I don't know, it just seemed like the regular thing you do as a teenager, the things you talk about, the things you say, it just was so, just, I didn't even do that myself. I didn't fall that way. I didn't copy. I was still myself, you know, my own self. So I just hung out with him anyway, just so I wasn't alone. And that's when I noticed a new girl at the school who was really quiet and shy and always standing by herself. Me, as quiet and shy as well, couldn't get myself to befriend her, talk to her, give her a friend because she was completely by herself. And I'm just like, I should talk to her, but what do I do? I just go over there and talk to her. What should I say? But, yeah. Finally, my group of friends I was with, they actually thought, let's go over and, you know, say hi to the new girl and see if she wants to hang out with us. And so they did, and she does, but I'm the only one who talks to her. So eventually, when me and her become friends, I'm like, let's go somewhere else. I felt like I had my rude humor with her, though, and I felt really bad because, you know, I really thought she was an awesome person, though, and we were fine, except one day she told me she wanted to go back to Colorado and live with her mom again, and she didn't want to be there. And I told her to stay for my birthday, though. She said she would, but the next day she was gone. Found out through the teachers talking back, and I was like, what are they talking about? Why is my friend not here? Because they mentioned her name, and they said that she moved. So, third best friend in a row, and I lost her. So, after that, I actually had the other friends who came, and 2 of them came and followed and were hanging out with us before she moved away, so I was still with them. And then the next year after that, I totally changed my life and didn't want to be selfish or rude and wanted to give more to people and be kind. And so I really just changed things up, and on my hand I would write, treat others the way you'd want to be treated, just to remind myself. And I was like really determined to change who I was. I really wanted to be a better person. I felt like I lost her because I didn't treat her correctly, you know, like nicely, that I was losing friends because I wasn't treating them right. And, hey, whatever works to get you to change, right? So, you know, I just started to find more opportunities to give, and then, yeah, we had like I was in a new group of friends, but at that time I actually made a decision because of a pastor at my church that I was going to at the time. Talked about like dating and how God will bring you your spouse, and that like really spoke to me. And he talked about like committing yourself to your future spouse, and I don't know, but I thought it was the cutest thing in the world. And so I decided at that moment, February 8th, 2006, that I would commit myself to my future husband and not date. I wasn't allowed to date till 16, so I made this decision at 15. Therefore, by the time I reached 16, I was like, nope. And told myself that I would only create friends and just friendships to get to know the person. So I didn't really create friends with guys anyway. Therefore, I basically would spend my days at school not caring about the friends' conversations, and I would go off in the back sometimes and get a piece of paper and start writing my future husband because I would rather talk to him. And this pretty much took over my life for like a year, I guess you could say. And I daydreamed a lot. I would just imagine a totally different life and like my future, whatever. I just would sit there and imagine everything. Crazy Stephanie. But it worked for the most part. And I remember, though, that I used to kind of cover it up by just joking, saying I had an imaginary friend named Bob. And then I changed the name to Matthew, and I wrote a story because I daydreamed so much. My mind was like so just, like I could sit there and think of a whole story in my head, and I was a daydreamer, you know. I imagined a lot. I had a crazy imagination there, so I don't know why I just tweaked out. Anyway, so I got this imagination of mine, and I decided I was going to put it on paper and I also began to write on the computer. So my mom gave me a computer at the time, and I just get a Word document, and I started to write a story, and I titled it True Love Waits, which is what my purity ring says. Can't really tell, but it does. And so the day I got this is the day I started writing. It was March 26th. No, March something, 2006. Wow, it's been over 6 years. It's a long time. Anyway, I made it 6 years. So yeah, I started writing the story, and I thought this is how I daydream my future. And I began to write. And so every time I think of something at school, I would go home and write it in my story. And what's funny, it's funny to think because, I mean, as I'm writing out my story and how I see my future, it was basically how I imagine meeting my future husband. So, you know, I create like this perfect person in a book. Perfect, yeah, I obviously created problems because I was like, there has to be a climax. There has to be this, there has to be that. And my story just, like, interests me because it's like I was 15 when I wrote it, so it's really cute. And it pretty much all takes place in 2011, and which is weird because at the time of writing, it's 2006 or 2005 or something. 2006, huh? Yeah. And so at that time that I'm writing this story, 2011 to me is, like, far away, right? I'm like, that's the perfect age to meet him and then get engaged. Like, I had it all planned out because I wanted to be young. Now I'm getting old. Anyway, so that was pretty much my life for a while. It was like this story that I would write, and it starts off like I started off with the day I got the purity ring, and then I skipped all the way forward to 2011, and yeah, just kind of go off of that. And it's basically a 3-month friendship. 3-month friendship. I'm not even joking. Like, later I was like, 3 months? Did I think this through? It was just funny. But see, I was comparing it because I was going through like a 4-year thing that actually ended. So it's like I kept that in the story. You know, I wasn't gonna go in it and try to change. Like, no, never mind. I'm gonna change it and make them know each other for like 10 years. That would be a long time. No, but I didn't change anything. I left it the way it is. That was my 15-year-old mind. you know, I mean, at one point I did change something in like 2006 at the end. I was like done writing because I got like lazy and stopped writing, but I like made a new friend at the time, and like it was like 7 months of a friendship, and that ended, but because it got kind of like deep and weird, and I was really young. I was 16, and he was really emotional, this guy. So yeah. Anyway, I had changed something in the story because, like, I don't know how he, like, somehow allowed me to believe what I was believing, that something could happen someday. I don't know. But, yeah, so I remember one day I went back and I was like, no, I'm going to change it to my original, and I'm not going to ever adjust this to anyone in real life. I'm going to leave it. So, yeah. It's basically, they met, like, at the end of April, and, well, Stephanie in the story, and she was going to a photography college, and I'm sweating, like I feel the sweat. Anyway, I just imagined I would go to one, but I didn't actually go to a photography college, but in the story I imagined I did, and then she meets the person in the store, the guy. She just was like, oh, whatever, and then gets and bumps into him again. So basically he gets like, he comes out of nowhere, and so on the third time he's like, do you want to go eat somewhere? And she's like, sure, which is not something she normally does, but I guess she just said, sure, why not? But because he was like a really, like, just a random guy who wasn't perverted or anything, so I mean, seemed pretty innocent. But yeah, and then after that, because he didn't actually live there, he was visiting because of his parents who were there. So, he had to go back home, which was quite a far away from where she was at. So basically their communication was through, like, interesting enough, it was not texting at first or anything. Apparently at 15 years old, I'm not thinking of that. Even though everyone at the school had phones, but I didn't. So when I wrote the story, it was just like, they would send emails. But yeah, that was basically, that's why it was like, when I thought about it later, I thought it was really funny that, I just knew, as the writer, that they were meant to be, and so 3 months was just okay. But anyway, it's a cute little story, though, because I wrote it when I was young, and, basically it's just a friendship throughout the whole time, and, she gets to really know him, and then somehow gets to know, like, some of his family that kind of, like, she gets to know his, mom, and, not really his dad, because his dad's always gone in this story. Like, there's a dad, but he's always, like, working, so, I don't know. And the mom was sick, so, anyway, but he actually lived alone with a dog named Chocolate, and, where was I? Oh, yeah. So in the story, I'm going on for, like, so long. I just want to say this, that way I can watch it later on in life. I just get, every time I start talking about my story, I have to say the entire thing. Because I wrote it at 15, and you never know what it could mean. So, yeah. They met in April, and basically grew a friendship over that summer after that. And he would usually, like, go and visit, and he used to only visit for his family, but then, you know, after becoming friends with her, he started visiting because of her too. And then he invited her to where he was at on 4th of July to watch fireworks. And, you know, throughout the story, like, as I'm writing it, you know, she's dealing with, like, feeling really happy about him, and he's, you know, happy, seems happy in return, and he's really kind and really nice to her, and, but she could tell he's going through some stuff too, but he just remains to look strong, even though he ends up kind of opening up one day about it to her, about his, like, past and stuff. And then she opens up about her past, which at the time my past was, like, really boring, so in the story I had to make up stuff. Which was still boring when I made it up. Little did I know what really would happen in the future. But anyway, and yeah, they basically, like, go through, like, everything is okay and everything until she starts to really question him, like, what are we doing? Like, what are we? I know we're just friends, but oh my goodness, you know. And he doesn't really say much, and he doesn't. So one day she's like, what are we doing? Because he was like, I'm going to show you this place that would look really cool for photos, because, you know, she likes photography, right? And she's like, okay. And he takes her hand, and he's like, oh dear. It's not really written like this, it's just funnier to say it like this. But anyway, so, as he's taking her, she's like, what are we doing? And he was like, I'm showing you the pretty bridge. And she's like, no, like us, like you and me. And he's like, oh, I don't know. It was basically kind of like, I don't know, I think you're an amazing person and all that stuff. Get off of me. I mean, there's ants. Anyway. And, I was trying to remember the story. So, yeah, after that, it's kind of weird. It's like they're both, like, aware that there's... What is that? I have a dot. Oh, dear. I have a little dot right there. And under here. It'll go away. I just started taking medication for my face again, so... I'm gonna clear that crap up. Anyway. So, yeah. After that, it's kind of like, I don't really know what's going on, but we're just gonna go with it. And then they get, like, this, weird... There's, like, this other girl who becomes involved somehow, right? And that's when Stephanie, in the story, realizes that she doesn't claim him, so she can't really say anything, and he's just a friend. So she'd always have to tell herself, he's just a friend. And, then she found out that the other girl, I guess, was just, like, some blonde girl. And, she told herself that, you know, this girl, I guess, was just obsessed with him all the time, and he doesn't really care for the other girl, because she's too, yeah, like, total opposite of Stephanie, pretty much. But, anyway, the story progresses, and, then there's a wedding. It was his cousin's wedding, and, she's there and he's there and everything, and then it gets to, like, the bouquet toss, which she never wants to be involved in that, but everyone pretty much forces her to, and of course she catches it, and then she looks around for him, and he's, like, gone, and she's like, where did he go? So, she finds him in the church inside, like, sitting with his head down, and she's like, what's wrong? And then he's just feeling bummed, and he said, when she got the bouquet, he realized that, you know, he saw her happy with someone someday, and he didn't want to stop that. And she was like, why would you think that, or whatever? And then he said, because he couldn't provide, he lived far away, he lives alone with a dog who died. And then she's like, when did all this happen? And, just like this, all this stuff that he just feels like he just would not be good for her and everything. And then he tells her to go, and so she's just like, okay, because he didn't want to talk, because I guess he was getting all emotional. And so after that, this was the climax I decided on when I was writing. After that, what happens? She just gets really sad, and then she's actually going to be moving at this point, moving back home. She was in college, and now she's going to go back towards where she, like here. In real life, it would be like here, you know? Well, not here. I was choosing a town nearby. Anyway, so, you know, she's moving, and she's gonna be going, and she won't have reason to ever see him, because, I mean, he's no reason to be in her town. You know, he doesn't live there. He lives in a different town called Gilroy. Oh. And, yeah, so basically she realizes that day that, you know, she really did love him and everything, but, she doesn't know what's to happen, what's the next, will she ever see him again? And, so at this point, she's taking a walk, and, thinking about all that stuff, and she likes looking at houses, and blah, 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 because he's an architect. I don't know how I made him an architect. How old is, he's like, in 2011, he's 22, and he's going to be 23, and he's an architect. I have a lot of faith in him when I wrote this. It's just funny. I made him a successful architect at the age of 22. Anyway. Where was I? Oh yeah, so she's taking a walk, and she's like, well, if we're meant to be, then we'll be, you know? And I shouldn't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. So she gets back home, and there he is with his car, and he's just there. He thought she left, and he's like, oh, there you are. And pretty much that was their moment, because he was saying, like, how his mom was sent to the hospital for surgery, and things just, like, were getting tough, and so he started to really think about life, I guess, and realized that he didn't want to see her with anyone else, ever, because he tried picturing life without her, and he didn't like it at all. And, so yeah, that's when she's like, oh my goodness, this whole time? And then he invited her to dinner, and they went and ate at this place, and then he said we can take a walk along the beach to see the sunset, and that would have been her first time, because she saved that, because in real life I still haven't done it, so, but yeah, so in the story I was like, let that be her first time, and then he proposes. It was really random though, because technically, I remember as they're like walking as I'm writing it, and like I had the most random stuff placed in there, like I was like, make sure he's wearing this, a button-up shirt with rolled-up sleeves, navy blue, and then a random where she like I guess touches his arm or something, and he had like a scar, and she's like, I wonder how he got that. And then I never explained that later. So, but I remember these like little details that were just really random, but they're in there. And but yeah, then he proposes, just like that. He's like, I made up my mind. So July 28th, 2011, I was proposed to. It's August 18th, 2012. I've pretty much been engaged for like a year, according to this story. But anyway, the point is, that was how I imagined like my future, and I basically just sat there in my room at the time, 15 years old, writing away, writing my life, and I looked forward to it. Literally, I'm like, yay, I'm going to my mom's, I get to write my story, because that life that I was living inside a story was way better than the life I was in. Like, in my mind, that life was better. That when I left school, I was like, yay, I get to go to that life, and I just felt like I could live there in the story. And I feel like that's how photography took over the writing, kind of in a way, where now I feel like I can live in a photo, and it's like I can tell stories in these photos. And yeah, that actually at 15 is when I picked up the art of photography, and I just kind of grew from there. And I eventually did stop writing in my story. I made a friend that made it really complicated, and yeah, there were like feelings involved, and he was in another state, and I couldn't really look at him because I wasn't attracted, and so I tried to ignore that, and had sympathy toward him because he was dealing with a whole bunch of stuff. And so I was like being like all loving and kind and everything because I felt like he needed that. And then it got kind of weird, and then I prayed over it, and I lost the feelings like that. I was just like, nope, decided that I don't have them. It was just like, I was serious though. I was like, I don't want to feel this way if this is not the person for me. And so they went away. And then shortly after that, I met a new friend, and yeah, that lasted 5 years, and then that served its purpose, and here I am today. Totally new person, and I'm just hoping that all those two complicated, weird, random friendships in my life, I'm just hoping that's over. I'm done. I don't want anything complicated like that anymore, so it's like, okay. But, yeah, it's been a half hour, and I need to stop talking. I don't know how that'll change to that, but I like to talk. I have so much that I have inside of me. Just need to let it out. I feel really bad too for my friends sometimes because I want to talk, but I'll like shut myself up because I'm like, don't annoy them, Stephanie, don't tell them too much. I think that's why it's good to have like a bajillion different friends, because then you can like just talk to a whole bunch, except that's really hard for me to do, so I don't, but whatever. Anyway. Yeah. So I don't know what's stopping me from changing up my life. Like I like, if I could get up and just make a difference, I would. You know, like I want to move somewhere if that would be something different, you know. Not just, I have nothing to run away from here, you know. It's not like I have a problem with someone here. It's not like, you know, I'm trying to run from something and I'm not sad anymore. It's like I'm ready. I feel ready at least. But we'll see though. I mean, usually I get all impatient right before something happens, so this could very well be that, you know, me freaking out before I'm surprised with something. You never know. But my hair's messy. I don't know what else to say. I should probably stop this, but I'm gonna sit here with Peg. Come here, Peg. So yeah, by the way, I did eventually stop the whole, like in high school, the whole like daydreaming and writing, you know, a person I haven't met yet, letters and stuff, and actually haven't written him in a long time. But I used to, like, write, like, almost every week, probably. But, yeah, that eventually stopped, and obviously I grew older, and, yeah, made a new friend that kind of occupied my mind for a while, and it turned into crazy stuff that really occupied my mind, and, that pretty much took over my life for a while, and there were times that I would literally hold right here when I was crying. I felt like my heart hurt so much that I would just hold it. Sometimes I would actually like shut myself in my closet just to be surrounded by stuff and sit there in the dark and just let it out in crying. And it's just crazy because it's like all that I went through. I feel like the happiness now is, you know, to be making up for what I went through. That it's like, okay, Stephanie, you suffered for that long and it's for something really huge, so, you know, you'll be getting your reward. And so it's like, I made it. It just feels so good to be here because I had no idea when here would be, and I just am really thankful for what that reward is. It's not, I don't know if it's been fully revealed to me, but I'll be thankful. Really thankful. Really thankful. Oh, I'm wearing this. Just kind of just saw it and used it. Whole flower on my head. Check out my flower. I need to go to bed. Look at my flower, guys. Isn't it beautiful? Anyway, perhaps tomorrow as I wake up will be a very, very significant day. I used to always hope for those significant days, the day that was just like something significant happened. You just never know. Maybe I'll have a pretty dream tonight. I haven't had any awkward dreams. I was having those like last week, but I'm better now. Anyway, it's on my arm. Oh, I need to go. I need to stop doing this. Stop doing this whole 10-hour long vlogging. Okay. Bye, Stephanie Ann from the future. It's me, Stephanie Ann from the past. But yeah,